like to talk about the Coin microswitch assembly that you'll find on one of our devices. This happens to be on a back channel or a midget channel, but you also find a coin switch in any of our face plates, our coin doors, and I would just like to make some comments about how the microswitch works with the coin. These particular microswitches have a small, thin wire arm that's attached to a pivot point on the microswitch. And when these microswitches get activated by the coin, they actually are pivoting around a pivot point, and they have a rocking action like this. What's important with these wire switch arms is that they are free to move, so you want to make sure your wire switch arm is not rubbing on any metal path of the coin. There's different size channels for different diameter coins, and you want to make sure that the wire is not rubbing on any of those. When the coin goes past the wire, it pushes the wire down and it holds this switch closed for a certain amount of time. It's a finite amount of time. And the amount of time that the switch is closed, you want to make sure that that time that the switch is closed is being seen by the machine or by the device that's monitoring this microswitch. If it appears that the coin goes through and the switch is activating too fast, you might be getting too small of a signal going to the host machine and it cannot recognize that very short pulse. In those cases, you may have to bend this wire in the up direction, because if the wire is bent down here, the time that it takes for the coin to close it and then release again may be too short, so you may have to bend the wire up. Another way of making the switch have a longer pulse time is to bend this wire farther out into the middle of the coin path here. You got to be careful though, you don't want to bend this wire too far into the coin path, because then it may stop the coin and the coin may not be able to get through, because you'll be infringing upon the diameter of the coin. But the two methods to make the coin pulse longer is to push this wire in the up direction or to push it farther into the coin path, so that the coin makes contact with that wire for a longer amount of time. If this wire gets extremely damaged, it's easy to replace the wire. It simply hooks onto the pivot pin here. You could easily remove it with a pair of pliers by just sliding it off of this pivot pin in this direction here. But the important thing to remember is to keep this wire free from rubbing on any other external metal, and to make sure that the coin is able to push the wire down and the coin clears it so that the wire comes back up to its home position. One other thing you want to remember is, because you might take the wires off of your microswitch and you might forget which terminals to put them back on. There is a common terminal, which is the one that's farther away from the other two, and you have a normally closed and a normally open terminal. When you put your wires back on, you want to make sure that you have one wire on your common terminal, which is right here, and the other one on the normally open terminal. Normally open means that under this condition, this normal state with no coin going through, this terminal is open relative to this terminal. When this coin goes through and closes the switch, these two terminals will short out momentarily. So these are the two terminals that you want to connect your wires to. Most logic and most machines are relying on a switch closure when the coin goes through. So these are the two terminals you want to use to activate the host machine.